Hey guys, Minister Mishkin here. Today I'm going to try to bring you my top Nintendo 64 games of all time. Choosing between these games is impossible. You know, sometimes I'm going to have to just give them a tie or explain myself a little bit because it's like choosing between kids. It's not easy. These are games I grew up playing. This is my favorite system of all time, and I don't know, this is just impossible. Trust me, I tried to do this. I tried to put like a top 20 together, and it just doesn't work because I can't decide between some of these games. They're just too good, and I have way too great of memories playing certain games, but then I say, well, this game actually is the better game. Yeah, but nostalgia factor, and, well, maybe this multiplayer is better than the single player, but I don't know, a lot went into this, and sometimes I couldn't decide, but I'll do my best to try to rank these. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoy. So first off, to clear some stuff up, there's going to be some games that I haven't played through or really given a good shot at. And those are games like Conker's Bad Fur Day, Banjo-Tooie, some games that I've heard good things about, but they're not going to be on my list because I didn't play them. And if I didn't give them a fair shot and play them, I'm not going to rank them. These games that I'm ranking are games I've either beaten or gotten close to beaten, given probably hours of playing time in most of these. I'm sure all of them, to be honest. And I just don't think it's cool of me to rank a game I've barely played. So honorable mentions go out to games like, Banjo-Tooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Majora's Mask. I've heard great things about those games, but I haven't played them. I haven't played them much, so I'm not going to rank those. There's other games that were on the cusp of being in my video that I'm not going to put in. Those are games like Sin and Punishment, which is, in my opinion, the best import game. I downloaded it for the Wii Virtual Console, and it was amazing. I loved it. It reminded me a lot of Star Fox, On Rails, Unique, Treasure, lots of good things about that game. So I highly recommend that game. Download it. So right off the bat, here at number 20, these are two games that I can't really choose between to be number 20, but both are very near and dear to my heart. The first is Major League Baseball featuring Ken Griffey Jr. This is easily my favorite baseball game for the system. I put hours and hours into this game. I loved playing as the Seattle Mariners. I remember vividly playing at my friend's house. I owned it as well, but played some great matches against my dad. I'd always pick the Mariners because Ken Griffey and who was Edgar Martinez, they had ridiculous hitting zones, just huge circles, and that game was a blast to play. Then the other sports game, kind of completely different, is Mario Tennis. This is a game that wowed me with its graphics, and also, though, it wowed me with its price tag. I remember when I was looking at the store to buy this game, it was going to be $60, and man, that was a lot of money. I mean, that's like $100 now, and I was just a little kid. So I rented this game, but I never owned it. I own it now for probably only cost me around $10. That's the going rate for this game now, so shows you a little patience pays off. But this game is awesome. I would always choose Boo the Ghost because it was tricky, and it could really like curve the balls and slice it well, and just a blast. Mario Tennis is definitely a must-own for the system. At number 19, here's a game that its older brother has always overshadowed it, and that is 007 The World Is Not Enough. In my opinion, a super underrated game. The multiplayer was fun. The single player was even better. I remember the second level being really fun. You're at the top level of a building, and it's like an office building, and it's on fire, and there's explosions going on all over, and there's guys coming down on cables with machine guns. And this game is a blast, and I think for some reason people forget that, yes, GoldenEye is an unbelievable game, but World Is Not Enough is fun, and EA didn't suck back then, and they actually made some pretty fun games, and this was one of them. It utilized the expansion pack to kind of push the N64 even more than GoldenEye, and I know this was not developed by Rare, but this was still a fun game, and definitely worth checking out. If you guys like first-person shooters on the N64, this game is a must-own. Here's another game that many of you are going to disagree with me on, but a game that I really enjoyed, and that is Quest 64. This game gets a ton of hate for being an RPG for the N64, a system that doesn't feature many, but also because people just flat out don't like this game. I'll tell you what, I do like this game. It's fun. I have great memories of playing it. I remember my friend Joey, He had this game and we didn't have a memory card, so it was a task every time I came over to see how far we could get, and we always found ourselves getting a little bit further, but never even came close to the end of the game. But we didn't know. We were just little. We had no idea how long it was. But eventually, freshman year of college hit, and I borrowed this game from a friend, and I beat it, and I really liked it. I love it. This is a game that is super, super nostalgic for me, and while it's not the greatest RPG ever, it's probably one of my favorites. I'm not much of an RPG guy, but this game was fun. At number 17 here, I have a series of games, Rampage 1 and Rampage 2. These games are super fun to play multiplayer, get a buddy, just keep going through different levels, different missions. It gets repetitive, but it's really fun and definitely worth checking out. Here's number 16 on my list, Bomberman 64. This was a game I picked up when I was 7 years old. I remember watching something on TV and I kept seeing the commercial, Bomberman, Bomberman, da-na-na-na-na-na-na, to the Spider-Man theme, and I kept wondering what this thing was. So long story short, and basically I made my parents drive me to the store and I had to get this game, and it was one of those instances where commercials actually did persuade me, and I loved it. It was such a fantastic game. The multiplayer is a blast to play with the friends. It's underrated. I don't think too many people put in Bomberman 64 and play it with a bunch of friends, but really, I used to take all my friends who came over and play Bomberman 64 with them. Here's the only game on my list I never played as a kid. I never rented this game, I never played it at anybody's house, and it's still making my top 20 list. And at number 15, it's Killer Instinct Gold. This is probably the best, what I would call, traditional fighter on the system. If you haven't played this game, play it. If you're going to own a fighting game for the N64, I seriously think, if you're going to own a traditional fighter, this is the best one for the system. And what do you know, this was developed by Rare, which a ton of the other best N64 games for the system were developed by them. They are an unbelievably good company. They were in their heyday in the late 90s when they made these games, and this was an early N64 release, probably 96, 97. Looks like 1996. So this game was out when N64 first came out, and it really has held up really, really well. So if you guys want to go back and play an N64 game that's super playable now, play this game. Seriously, highly, highly recommend it. So this is the final game I would clump together with all of the past games I have shown that I probably couldn't really rank from each other. Basically, this is number 14, but from 14 to 20, they're basically similar in how much I like these games. And this one is Space Station's Silicon Valley. This was a game I remember paying $60 for as a kid, which is a ton. That was probably my Christmas and birthday money, anything I got extra. You know, normally you didn't get cash as a kid, so you scraped together what you could and you'd buy yourself a game every once in a while. That's if you could convince your parents to take you to Best Buy. So that was always actually the biggest challenge, was getting them to take me. But this was one of those games that I saw in Nintendo Power Magazine, and I was obsessed with reading the article over and over and over again. And I just remember reading about how you could change to different animals, and you had dogs with rocket-firing missiles on them, and you had, you know, hippos with explosive shit, basically, that they would set on the ground. Really, really fun game. This is one of those hidden gems for the system. This is also one of those games that you can expect in 10 years to be pretty expensive because not a lot of people bought this. Here are two games that I chose for number 13 based solely on their multiplayer. And that is Pokemon Stadium and Mario Kart 64. Now the reason I chose these two together is because I feel as if both of their single player experiences suck, and that these games are only good when you're playing them with friends. Yes, you can play the Pokemon duels against computers, and honestly, I don't think the Pokemon duels are fun against your friends. I chose this game because of the Kids Club mini games. They're very fun and definitely worth checking out just to buy Pokemon Stadium for. And Mario Kart 64, I just don't have fun playing the single player, it's probably about 1% as fun as playing 4-player multiplayer with my friends. So yeah, I'm not that high on Mario Kart 64. I don't feel like it's overall a great package. I think it's a great multiplayer game, very fun to play with the friends, but that's about it. I think this game is limited to just its multiplayer. At number 12, here's a game that I remember as a kid saving up my money, putting it in my bank account, checking my balance all the time to save $60 up. I believe it was 60. This could have been 50, but I think I spent 60 on this, and that is Yoshi's Story. I would get a little bit of money, put it in the bank. I remember it's one of the first times I ever had to save for something. And another one of those games I kept, I think, looking at the Nintendo Power article, was obsessed with wanting to play this game, and I finally got it, and I loved it. Some other people don't love it, but I really enjoyed it, and looking back, it's refreshing to have a 2D N64 game. It looks great to this day. It's fun, it's short, it's beatable, it's playable. The music is good, the sound effects are cute, but they're good. I don't dislike the premise of collecting the fruit. Is this game Yoshi's Island? No. But it's Yoshi's Story, and as Yoshi's Story, it's a good game. And I remember playing this game as my dad was rushed off to the hospital for cutting his finger in half. It's so funny how you can remember playing a game when a significant event happened in your life. It's so weird how I always can pretty much associate an event in my life with, being in the middle of playing some game, or maybe I just happen to be playing through a game in that period of my life. And I can associate games with events of my life, and that's another reason why I collect. It's so nostalgic, but it's important to me. Here are two games at number 11 that probably could have made my top 10 list. For one reason or another, they're not in it, but to start us off, Banjo-Kazooie. This is the game I've been playing the past month or so. I've put about 15 hours into this game, and I absolutely adore it. It's an incredible game. It's a great game for the N64. It's a single-player experience that really shines, shows the system's capabilities. It's Mario 64, but pumped up. It's a better version of Mario 64, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's a better game, but it's kind of an updated version. And if I played this game as a kid more, I think it'd be in my top 10. But to be honest, I only rented it once as a kid, and I enjoyed it, but I never rented it again. I was too scared of Gruntilda, the witch. She scared the living crap out of me. I had the Nintendo Power VHS for this game, and I really wanted it, but at the same time, I was incredibly scared of her. And I don't know, I used to associate this game a lot with me having a hard time falling asleep, so it took me a long time to start playing this game again. But when I did, it was definitely one of the best experiences I've ever had on the N64. And the other game at number 11 that's not pictured is Paper Mario. This is a game I remember renting in 5th grade. I had a PlayStation 2. That would have been 2001 or 2000, somewhere around there. I remember breaking my wrist, and even though I had a PlayStation 2, I went out and I rented Paper Mario, and I played this game for hours. I couldn't beat it. I was young. It was a tough game to play. I finally eventually beat it a couple of years ago, but one of the best RPGs in the system. I like how you can actually hit A mid-battle when you're attacking somebody to alter it. It's not just a boring standard select your attack. Really fun game, fond memories of it. An absolute must-own for anybody.